Most people think being home alone is peaceful, quiet, safe. But the truth is, silence has a way of revealing things you were never meant to notice. Tonight's stories all share one theme: not monsters, not ghosts, but something far more unsettling. Each of these people was alone, or at least, they believed they were. This first story takes place in a 2-floor house designed for 2 families, 2 kitchens, 2 living spaces, 1 shared structure. My sister lived downstairs. I lived upstairs. She spent most nights with her boyfriend, which meant I was often alone. I was 30 years old, and while I like to think that meant fear had no place in my life anymore, that night proved otherwise. I was watching a horror movie in my living room, stretched out on the couch. The space was completely open, with the kitchen and dining area behind me. The only light came from the TV. Every so often, I found myself glancing over my shoulder, aware of just how much of the room I couldn't see. When the movie ended, I turned off the lights and went to bed. I fell asleep quickly, but only for a couple of hours. Around 1 in the morning, I woke up suddenly. At first, I didn't know why. Then I heard a voice downstairs. It sounded exactly like my sister, not outside, inside the house. I couldn't understand what she was saying at first. My mind was still foggy with sleep, trying to make sense of it. I assumed she had come home unexpectedly. Maybe she was upset. Maybe she needed something. I got out of bed, turned on the hallway light, and walked toward the stairs. As I moved through the living room, I heard her again. This time, I clearly heard her say my name. I answered back and went downstairs, fumbling for the light switch in the foyer. I was exhausted, barely thinking straight. I finally found a switch in her kitchen and turned it on. The light started dim and slowly brightened. As it did, I realized something was wrong. No one was there. Her kitchen was empty. Her living room was empty. Her bedroom was empty. I checked everywhere. I called her name loudly. No response came back. Then, seconds later, I heard something drop to the floor in her bedroom, the same bedroom I had just checked. I didn't investigate. I didn't call out again. I ran upstairs, locked myself in my room, and tried calling her. She didn't answer. Eventually, I fell asleep, convincing myself it had all been a hallucination. In the morning, I woke up to a text from my sister asking why I had called her at 1 in the morning. She wasn't home that night. She had been at her boyfriend's place the entire time. When I checked her room again, nothing had fallen. Nothing was out of place. I want to believe my mind made it all up, because the alternative means something knew her voice well enough to use it. The next story comes from a 14-year-old boy left home alone while his mother worked overnight. Late that night, he heard a chair scrape across the deck outside his bedroom window. When he looked out, he saw a man sitting there staring up at him. The boy backed away, terrified. Minutes passed. When he looked again, the man was still there. He asked the man what he wanted. The man didn't answer. His shoulders moved as if he were laughing, but no sound came out at first. Then came a faint wheezing noise, like laughter struggling to escape damaged lungs. The boy begged him to leave. Instead, the man tried to get inside. He pushed on the back door, then the front. Eventually, he gave up and left. If the doors hadn't been locked, the boy knows he wouldn't have survived the night. Another child, only 10 years old, was left home alone after his parents rushed to the hospital. Late that night, he heard the front door open. Assuming his parents had returned, he went to check. Instead, he saw 3 tall strangers standing silently in his living room. He hid in his closet as footsteps entered his bedroom. Someone touched his bed. Then they stood directly in front of the closet. The door opened. He held his breath, waiting for the moment his life would end. After what felt like forever, the door closed. The intruders left with stolen items, never realizing how close they came to taking something far worse. Then there was the teenager left home alone for a week. One night he heard a voice calling from the woods behind his house. The voice asked for help, claimed to be stuck. When the teenager hesitated and turned back, the voice followed him closer to the house. Later, the voice laughed at him from outside his window. And finally, the most disturbing story of all. A 23-year-old man saw a woman watching him from inside his house. He searched every room and found nothing. That night, as he lay in bed, he heard movement beside him. When he turned, the woman rose from beneath his bed. She had never left. These stories all happened in places meant to be safe. Bedrooms, living rooms, homes. Being alone doesn't always mean no hope.